When profitability matters so much for people who are in business, it is so important that we have the knowledge and the tools to help us overcome challenges that we exist. The Commander Initiative welcomes you to our first annual convention. It is our hope that you can gain valuable information that can immediately be utilized in your location and bring not only bottom line results, but enhance the legacy of your funeral home. You can easily recognize that things are changing, and not necessarily for the best. Funeral professionals will need to change something to maintain or to increase profitability. Today, we're going to take a closer look at some of the changes and then highlight some of the possible solutions. But first, let me introduce myself. My name is Pitt again. I'm the President and CEO here at Cooper Professionals and the organizer of the Commander Initiative. My passion for the Commander Initiative is rooted in my history. You see, I was born in Princeville, North Carolina, the first town in America established by freed black slaves. In my town, there were no bathrooms for white only. There was no theater that said white only. And the back of the bus looked just like the front of the bus for us. Our government, all of its officials were black. Our schools were black. Our merchants, of course, they were black as well. And that Jimmy Lynch syndrome, what he said on the James River in 1712, that trick to make us all hate one another was non-existent in Princeville. When it was only us, with the pride we loved each other, we cherished each other's contribution, we were proud of our limited, free existence. I don't know how broke we were, but we were impoverished. We were so broke that we didn't know it. But we were free, and decades behind in America with our existence. We had outhouses after they had long played out, pumps and well for water. Only low-wage opportunities existed. What I, even as a kid, thought was slave work was what we did. Working in the fields, picking cotton, cucumbers, priming tobacco, cleaning the homes and the yards of Caucasians. It's been a long and rewarding journey. I've gained a wealth of knowledge, enjoying success, and I continue to grow in the death care industry. Previous to my actually entering the death care industry, I worked many other various jobs trying to find my passion. I was with the U.S. Chamber of Commerce, Washington, D.C., insurance sales. I even sold magazines from door to door and so many other things. I'm proud to say that all of the varying efforts earned me the place at the table where major decisions were being made. I worked at the executive level with many of the conglomerates, SCI, Stewart, Enterprise, Cornerstone, and most of the major players in this industry. The reason I work with them all is because none of them seem to have my best interest at heart. None of them seem to have a lot of respect for the African American community. But at the table, there was a deep consideration about the future and making adjustments necessary to counter the obstacles that we were identifying. It's forward-looking, forward-thinking, and that's important in this day and time. Many from our community have earned a place at that same table of prosperity. Much of my time and efforts today goes into assembling leaders, their knowledge and disseminating the knowledge and experiences for those who come after us, using that knowledge as power to sustain legacy as funeral professionals. Times are changing, and many of these changes have the capacity to force independent local funeral professionals out of business, if not addressed, which is one of the reasons we have prepared this table for each of you. A table where major decisions must be made, decisions that directly affect your funeral business, and the advantages of being at this table are numerous. Many of us never see it coming and have no means of meeting the challenge. Okay, back to our lesson. You can easily recognize that things are changing, so naturally we will need to change something to maintain or increase our core profitability. A change to maintain or increase profitability is necessary. Now you're thinking, what can I change? A change to consider would be your mindset. Most recent conditions created quite the year for our industries. What do you see after all has been said and done? What do you think about it? When considering the unrest in our country today, what do you see? The vision should be clear. Do you see problems or do you see challenges? What you will see will determine what you plan to do. What are you saying, Mr. Pitt? Okay. Well, fact is, problems can be very difficult in our minds. But challenges, we're up to challenges. What are the major challenges facing the funeral industry today? Obviously, there are many. But let's take a look today at COVID-19 and the responses. Cremation and Black Lives Matter. Now first, taking a look at COVID-19 overall. The hospitals, they were flooded beyond capacity. The funeral homes, many of them were flooded beyond capacity, as well as some that were empty. Limited capacity for funerals. We may go back to that if things don't change. Forced to make many modifications we were. Virtual funerals, social distancing, personal protective equipment. Then we look at cremation. You know, the Cremation Association of North America notes that cremation rates continuing to grow, confirming that cremation is now the new tradition. We can see from the most recent maps the increase from 2015 to 19. As you can see, the Southeast, states where people never considered cremation, the numbers are rising exponentially, along with what we all know there at the Bible Belt. Now, frankly, when it comes to cremation, we have now entered a rapid growth phase. And this latest report has no COVID-19 increases factored in. The new numbers are expected to be devastating. Those numbers represent the most recent decrease in revenues for many funeral homes across the country. Successful locations have learned to address the challenge of cremation by more families. The most common response from the directors who have overcome is that they've changed their mindset, and they are asking that major question, the number one question when they request cremation: how do you want that loved one to be remembered? This leads to a vast amount of options, and professionals who work with the family on things such as niches and urns and columbarium, statue, benches, launch into space, plant a tree memorial, sea barriers, and on and on and on. True. And as we now look closer at this Black Lives Matter movement, Black Lives Matter is now supported by thousands of businesses, professionals, and institutions across the globe. Inside the Black Lives Matter, we find races of all people, all faiths, all nationalities, protesting discrimination and inequality among people of color. This represents the largest movement in American history, targeting the oppressed that has continued for many years and today has begun to become even more prevalent. Yes, the police are killing black men and women with little to no recourse. Sad as it might seem, our folks are killing far more of us than anyone else. And there must be a method of reducing the genocide. And yes, there's a lot stacked against us, but the recognition of these restraints will allow us to identify areas where we might be more aware. Understand that the problem begins with health equity, housing and property equity. We're seeking equity in learning institutions and at the workplace. While it's on the minds of the world stage, let's all join in and hope that a change might be made. How do we address these challenges? COVID-19, what have we been doing? You know, or you're learning virtual funerals, merchandising and memorializing like never before, virtual aftercare, virtual pre-need, following the CDC recommendations, the NFDA's COVID-19 resources being accessed daily, online, no contact payment, personal protection equipment, hard to come by in some cases. It was. It may come again where that is a challenge. We look at cremation. You got to identify the needs, and then you got to work on satisfying those needs. Your product merchandising, you can sell vaults, you can sell memorials and other things that are used in the cemetery. Those cemetery items are now available to be sold. Your aftercare and pre-need are vital to your success. Exposure to this new age and these new options and alternatives are going to be the change. Providing 90% of the finance being invested for the funeral. You're selling those things to your family. You should offer the family everything that's possible. One of the only things that you definitely won't be able to sell is a grave. You know, complete cremation options include so many various possibilities. In these trying times now, we got to understand that learning curve that occurs as we implement our new strategies, as we had networked and work with the vendors. We have training available through the Commander Initiative. During this symposium, you're going to have the opportunity to meet and consult with each of our dedicated providers, the vendors, the educators. You can schedule training and coaching and assistance and become more proficient in any area of our business. Looking at the Black Lives Matter, what can we do better? Number one, search for any method of supporting Black businesses. Educate your kids on the do's and the don'ts of simple traffic stops. Don't harbor fugitives, even if they're your own kids. Seriously. Join Black organizations and associations. Follow Black organizations on social media. Maintain a positive attitude regarding our future. After looking at the external challenges, then it's obvious we have to look internal. There are things that could be going on inside your location that could affect your profitability. But we assume that you have the basic funeral establishment in your business model. So that would consist of looking first at your first call professional. When a family calls you, who do they hear? How do they sound? And do they have your passion? Personal, unwrinkled, non-tattered staff, people who are sharp and took extra care. Professional vehicles, they might not be new, but they need to be clean. Your funeral process needs to be like marching soldiers. Everybody know what to do. Your documents should be clean, not copied 1,000 times. Your branding and your name recognition is important. Does the community know that you're there to serve? You must meet and reach out to your community. Community meetings, you'll attend local churches, fraternal organizations, senior communities, and get involved with their activity. Facebook, Twitter, social media. If you don't have it, you need to hire someone. Competitive services, not the cheapest service, but you need to review your price list and make sure you're competitive. You must specialize in something to separate your business from your competitors. Specialty products and services would be the best way to do that. But then you got to reach out and conduct local informational seminars. You give the information, you become the professional, the authority. At the churches and the lodges, senior communities, conducting webinars, passing out brochures, having multiple cremation options. Sometimes they can just see something on your list that raises their curiosity. Your time is valuable. It's your most important asset. When your call volume is down or maybe non-existent, it frees up time for you to work on your business. That time got to be used wisely. There are 4 major pillars in our business: your embalming, training and supervising, marketing, or merchandising. It's not a whole bunch of things outside the realm of reality for us. But when you look at your training and supervising, does the staff know you're there to serve? Do they have that same passion? You have to train your staff personally if you haven't replaced yourself. You should have minimum levels of expectation in service education, consumer etiquette. How do you carry yourself? How do you think and talk? Are you saying some of that crazy stuff? Job responsibilities. Business image matters, your staffing image, the funeral process and procession. What are you doing? Are you guys all in sync? You must train your management. Undoubtedly, everyone must be on the same page, or at least have the same understanding when it comes to your scheduling, positions. Who is in what position and responsible for what? Who has what title? Give them out cautiously. Your operations must be sound. Are you still using a pen to do it all? Overstaffing could be very costly. Who's full-time? Who should be part-time? Your merchandising products and services is going to matter significantly. Does the community know what you offer? You must diversify your offering. Considering the cremation nuances and subtleties that have changed significantly, just update your cremation option. Change the whole sheet based on facts and information that you receive here. Reconsider a unique offering. Be open to the different styles and service requests. Make sound adjustments in your pricing based on your competition, again, I say. Offer podcast funeral options for out-of-town family members and friends. Support co-op purchasing, such as the Commander Initiative, where group purchasing is happening. Eventually, everything that you use will be available at lower cost. Respond to the surveys so that we can find out how to better service you. Connect to the participating social media activity. Like and share. Don't just pass those posts. Like them, share them. Refer your customers. Refer your vendors. You know, all of that matters for us. That's how we grow. That's how we use our buying power. If each of us were to collectively consider the realities of what we might be able to do to be stronger in our neighborhoods, to be stronger in our communities, to be stronger in a whole, and working together, not being envious, not being like crabs in the crab pot. If we see one trying to get ahead, we pull them back down. Not having that art with the brother for nothing, not carrying anger, but being wise in your statements, being wise in your consideration, being wise in your decision, assimilating information, disseminating, finding out what is the best practice, who's winning, what are they doing, how can I implement certain projects and programs into what I do. Ladies and gentlemen, I thank you for the time that we spent today, and there's so many other thoughts and concerns that we could share, and hopefully in the future we'll have the opportunity to do so. But for today, I say, please visit with our vendors, talk to our vendors, compare your prices with the prices that are being made available through our vendors. Challenge our vendors. Our vendors have already made concessions in costs. They've already supported us in our movement. They believe that going into the future, if we all join hands and collectively look out for the buying power that can be associated to the $1.4 trillion African Americans are spending, we feel that we can actually make a change. Go and visit everybody. You got a few minutes to freshen up, and I look forward to seeing you at the next event. Thank you so much. And again, enjoy the symposium.